Very good morning, cadets. We are in chapter number 4, that is understanding about laws. In the previous chapter, we have completed discussion about why do we need parliament. Or in the same chapter, we studied about the functions of parliament. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about the lawmaking procedure. Of course, in the yesterday's class, a brief introduction to the chapter is over. Today, let us understand how a law is made. The parliament has an important role in making law. There are many ways through which this takes place, and it is often different groups in society that raise the need for a particular law. An important role of parliament is to be sensitive to the problems faced by the people. Let us read the following story to understand how the issue of domestic violence was brought to the attention of the parliament and the process adopted for this issue to become a law. So, what entire topic explained here is about the process of lawmaking and how the law is made in the parliament. So, here is a storyboard. The storyboard about the how a law related to Domestic Violence Act was passed. What is the meaning of Domestic Violence Act? Domestic Violence Act protects women from any kind of violence against them. The violence may be physical, verbal, emotional, or any other violence on women. But what makes it different that this law protects women in the domestic environment, that means within the home. So let us read and understand the situation and how the law came into effect. What you have to read here is date. Please remember the date. On October 2006, Sazia, did you read today's newspaper? Isn't it a great day for women? Not just women. Violence free homes will benefit everyone. Kusum, it's taken such a long time to get the law passed. In fact, it began with establishing the need for a new law. So here what you have to understand here, this is the news, they are reading the newspaper in the month of October 2006. Kusum and Shazia work for a women's organization. They remember the journey, how the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act got passed. So way back in 1991, a typical day at their office. I need advice. My husband beats me. I haven't told anyone so far. I feel so ashamed. I can't go on like this anymore, but I have nowhere to go. So you can see the discussion here. It is very clearly explains that. So it clearly explains that. So husband beats wife, but she cannot explain in a public place because it's a question of the prestige of their home. I am being ill-treated by my son and daughter-in-law. They verbally abuse me. I have no access to my bank accounts and they may even throw me out. So she says that I don't want to go to a police station because I just want to stop the violence. Why she don't want to visit the police station? Because she feels that the law in those days, that is in the year 1991, if somebody file a complaint, that will be dealt under criminal justice system, that is IPC, Indian Penal Code. Unfortunately, the existing law is criminal and does not offer these options. So, throughout 1990s, the need for a new law was raised in different forums. We heard testimonies of several women. We have seen that women want protection against being beaten and the right to continue living in a shared household. And often temporary reliefs. We need a new life and we need a new civil law to address the issue. So this is before 1990s what happened, that they understood that they want protection against women and all those things. So they wanted a civil law to solve the problem. In 1999, the Lawyers Collective, a group of lawyers, law students, and activists, after nationwide consultation, took the lead in drafting the Domestic Violence Bill. The Domestic Violence Bill, the Prevention of Atrocities Act, the draft bill was widely circulated. The definition of domestic violence should be include physical, economic, sexual, and verbal and emotional abuse. So, what is the meaning of domestic violence? Domestic, I already explained, violence on women within the home. Violence may be what type? There may be physical violence, not giving their share in the property, or not giving the lively support. So it may be economic, sexual abuse or the misconduct, verbal, shouting, scolding in a unparliamentary language, or emotional abuse, because emotional abuse, threatening. So all these kind of abuse should be considered as the part of domestic violence. Thus, law should cover any women living within a shared domestic space. They should be protected from being evicted from the shared household. So, what they were demanding that the law should protect them. The meanwhile, the law should also protect them in such a way that they should not be evicted or they should not be asked to leave from home. So what about some monetary relief? They ask that if that happen, we can ask even for compensation. Meetings were held in a different organization. The women's movement want a new law on domestic violence. The government should introduce it in the parliament soon. So, what you have to observe here, the discussion related to the bill started way back in 1990s. The bill was discussed in different forums, different organizations, and they wanted to understand about the bill and they wanted the bill to be introduced. And when the final bill was introduced, so you understand, finally the bill was introduced in the parliament in 2002. So almost 10 years, almost 10 years, there was long discussion about the bill requirement and all. So finally the bill was discussed and introduced in the parliament in 2002. Okay. The bill has none of what we have suggested. So when bill was introduced, the bill, whatever the wanted by women, like verbal abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, protection from all those things, it was not there. So they said that we must oppose the bill. We must oppose the bill in its present form. So we should not support the bill should go in this way. Let us have a press conference. We could also start an online petition. So an online petition can be started so that we can ask the parliament. We can ask the parliament to change the bill. So hope you are getting my point. So several women's organizations, National Commission for Women made submission to the Parliamentary Standing Committee. So here what you have to understand here, a topic called Standing Committee. Standing Committee is a committee in the Parliament which studies the bill in detail after the bill is passed by two-third majority by the parliament. So once the bill is passed by the parliament, parliamentary standing committee takes the petition and recommends certain suggestions. The estimated members of parliamentary standing committee, the present bill must be changed. We do not agree with the definition of domestic violence being proposed. The law needs to provide for a temporary custody of children. So the women's organization made an appeal to the parliamentary standing committee regarding the changes which they expected them to do. So in December 2002, the standing committee submitted its recommendation to Rajya Sabha and were also tabled in Lok Sabha. So whatever the decisions given by the standing committee, whatever the changes made by the standing committee, the standing committee tabled in the parliament, first in Rajya Sabha, then in Lok Sabha. So finally, a new bill was introduced in parliament in 2005. After being passed in both the houses of parliament, it was sent to president for his consent. So the bill was passed in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and finally it is sent to the president of India. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act thus came into exist in 2006. So in 2006, the Domestic Violence Act was came into force. The entire process started way back in the year 1990, 90s. Okay, but the bill finally introduced and came into effect in the parliament in 2006. At a press conference in 2006, so once the law is passed in the parliament, so and a press conference in 2006, they say what is new law? This law is first recognizing a woman right to violence-free home and provides a comprehensive definition of domestic violence. This is a civil law aimed at providing relief to millions of women, including wives, mothers, daughters, and sisters affected by violence in their home. So, the law which is passed protects women. Women here, it includes wives, mothers, daughters, and sisters affected by violence in their respective home. This law is very significant step because it recognizes the right of women to live in a shared household. Women can get a protection order against any further violence. Women can get monetary relief to meet their expenses, including medical cost. Now begin a new journey. Yes, now the government has to ensure that this law is implemented and enforced. Why? This is an important law. So we just gone through important dates related to the Domestic Violence Act. So here you can understand the Domestic Violence Act. The discussion started with the 2006, but way back in 1990s, women felt that there is a need of a law which protect women in a domestic atmosphere. Finally, the bill introduced in the parliament and it became law in the year 2006. So what you have to understand here, passing of a law or a bill in parliament, it takes a lot of time. Not only time, there are various stages involved. Here you can see it is told that bill is introduced. So that means there's a stage where the bill introduction of bill is done in the parliament. You may have observed also the bill is discussed in the parliament. So there's a stage of discussion in the parliament. Then once the bill is discussed, then the bill is put for voting. Once the bill is passed, then the same bill go for parliamentary standing committee. Then standing committee will submit the report to the parliament and finally bill is passed in that particular house. The same procedure will be repeated in second house. If it is Lok Sabha, in it will be done in Rajya Sabha and vice versa. And once it is passed, then the bill directly sent to the President of India for his signature. And if the President signs the bill, then the bill is called as Act or law. So that is how the steps involved in passing of a law, it is explained in a very, very interesting manner in a story style. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you.